So what is your experience on the AD side, Active Directory?
I've been using Active Directory for all my life, like in the technology industry. I've designed infrastructures from scratch, basically. I've designed the domain controllers, more than 20 domain controllers in different geographic locations.
I don't know if that comes with experience, because that fluency you have in answering, I think something we should learn from.
Make sure you sound like you know. And how do you sound like you know? Pick the key points and rely on them and take the full ownership. Because most of these guys, they don't want you to be the genius. They just want you to be able to do the job. Always make sure you're in a meeting at least 15 minutes before. I was actually be longer before there. Always make sure you have your resume. Make sure you have the website of the company on your computer in case they want to ask you something. Make sure you always have the command line interface like this in case you have to do something. And also have your Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, or anything here in case they want to ask you something. Just be careful. Sometimes when they ask you a question and they hear you typing, they know you're cheating. Do you guys know that?
Yes.
And when you ask something on ChatGPT, let's say they ask what's a DNS, and you don't know what a DNS is, and you manage to be too fast, and you reached out to your computer and you found a DNS. Don't read what's there. Now I'm seeing a lot of stuff here about the DNS work because I just on my Copilot, I just typed in DNS and it's telling me a lot of stuff. But assume they're asking me, I'll pretend that I will say, if they ask me about DNS and I didn't know what about a DNS, I will type in ChatGPT DNS and I will keep the conversation engaged. Do you understand? Because you don't want to sound like you're searching up the information. And this is the biggest challenge. When the information comes, you don't know where to start because there's a lot of information. And the question was, what did you do with the DNS? And what you Googled, you didn't show you what you did on Google or ChatGPT is not coming as you wanted it. So what do? In that case, just say, yeah, I have worked sometimes back with DNS. I remember I had to do different things. I remember like I did some root servers. I did set up the root servers. Asaf, you understand? You have your computer ready. Let's do this. So Asaf, he told us you worked with a lot of domains before. Could you tell us the process of setting up a domain? Which domain controller did you set up?
Normally, when you configure a new server with an operating system, then it becomes a domain controller when you give it that role. So you configure and install it as a domain controller, you assign it with that role. So after being assigned as a domain controller, that's where you configure your AD, your Active Directory. That's where users, that's where groups, that's where organizational units of the company or the institution are managed.
Very good, because you see, you are talking on a technical perspective. You are deep inside there. Did you feel how you're inside the system?
Yeah. Actually, when you answer something, everyone can hear that. Yeah, so, it's really like something you just not try to look around.
So another question. So now they're gonna come and they say, "Oh, Safari, we're gonna be migrating our domain, upgrading our domain controllers in different cases, and some of our domain controllers they have different FSMA roles. Could you tell us how you would deal with those FSMA roles? Is Alia here?
Yeah, I think she joined already.
Please mute yourself. Don't say anything because this is my interview and 1 minute to go. So what you need to do, just relax. Take it easy, keep it cool. If you are lucky and you find a way to make them laugh, make them laugh. If you feel like you can maneuver around, just play along. You know what I mean? The good news for most of you guys, you already have the skills. You already have exact skills required. So it shouldn't be a big deal.
Okay.
So I think they're also gonna ask me about the cloud. If they ask me about the cloud, you'll see I will talk about on-prem, because when they ask me any question about the the cloud, I will start with on-prem, talking about the main controllers, the physical roles and stuff like that. Then I'll go to the cloud where I'll talk about AWS and stuff like that. I'll make sure, even if I don't hit the point they wanted me to say, but at least I said more than enough for them to give me a job. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
If they say we are trying to do the migration in our environment, and just say, could you tell me more about your environment? Is this on-prem? Is it hybrid? So it shows that you know what you're talking about, all right? And they are late. They are 1 minute late now, and this is also a big advantage.
Yes, Suleiman.
How are you?
I'm good, Suleiman.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Uh, can you come closer? I mean, we are not able to see you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Now we can see you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Just be available for a few minutes. I'm connecting you with the interviewer.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So he just said he's going to add more people, and I'm
So you are
hoping
doing the interview as a group?
they normally like this is a cloud systems engineer. They want to do the migration, so it's a big job. They will be paying like maybe $75 an hour. So it's a lot of money for the company to release. So they make sure they bring their best team on the on our panel.
Okay.
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Hello, Karthik. Your name? Sorry, Suleiman, right?
Yes, Safari, Eng Agaba. Basically, I got 3 names on my ID, so you can pick whatever is okay with you.
Okay. Okay, Suleiman, let's go with that. Raghu, do you want to check? That's fine. I have taken the required screenshots. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Suleiman, you can just give an introduction about yourself and the technology and the experience that you have. Let's pick it up from there.
Yeah, so my name is Safari Agaba Safari. Safari is my middle name. I've been in Canada for more than 20 years, and I'm a Canadian. I'm an engineer. I've been an engineer for more than almost 15 years. I started at customer service, IT support, technical admin, to systems infrastructure, to senior systems infrastructure, like designing domain controllers, and also eventually connecting to the cloud, to AWS, Azure, managing Office 365, maintaining the patches for the servers, making sure the environment is friendly and moving smoothly.
Okay. And so what is your experience on the AD side, Active Directory?
I've been using Active Directory for all my life, like in technology industry. I've designed infrastructures from scratch, basically. I've designed the domain controllers, more than 20 domain controllers in different geographic locations. I've migrated, I've troubleshooted the physical roles. I've pretty much creating the OUs, adding the users, providing them the access. So yeah, I've been doing that for most of my time, yeah.
Okay. And how do you, can you give me or tell me the process? How do you migrate the domain controller from one device to other device? What approach or the process that you will follow?
So technically, you don't migrate a domain controller to where? Are you in the same, like, may I understand the environment exactly? Are you adding a domain controller as you're migrating it? What do you mean? Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Migrating from the one older version of Windows Server to the new version. And how do you the domain controller from the old box to the new one?
So basically, there's so many different ways of doing the upgrade. In most cases, most people do in-press upgrade, which finding the file server, putting on domain controllers and hitting on the file, and then next until the system upgrades. But that's not the best approach. The best approach, you should deploy a new VM, maybe a new server, then install like Windows Server, maybe 2022 or whatever the server is. Then after you make sure you install the roles and services and you promote the server into to the domain controllers, then you move the FSMA roles from the other domain controller to this domain controller. And then after doing that, I don't know, in some cases you want to keep the same IP settings, because if you don't if you provide the new IP settings, you could be having some issues in the routing table for the networking. So in that case, you take off of the other server, then bring it back after you've migrated the IP address, because I believe this will be a static IP address.
And have you worked on the Azure Active Directory?
I've designed Azure from scratch. I've done Office 365 from scratch, migrating from POP servers from Exchange 2010 to on cloud in Azure. I've deployed hybrid environments. I've created users, managed the licenses, created the VMs, domain controllers. I've designed fallback on-prem and in cloud, so that in case you change the IP addresses on-prem, then it should replicate in the cloud. Yeah, I've worked a lot with that.
Okay, how do you do the setup from integrating from the on-prem to the Azure Active Directory?
There's a process. And of course, it's not a jumping process. There have to be best practices. You have to do the thorough checks. You have to do everything. But if I can jump on technical perspective of it, it's the AAD Connect. AAD Connect is what actually points you to the local domain, wherever you're having the forest. And this AAD Connect, you can either install it on the main controller, or you can deploy it on a new server. That way they can replicate together. Then you'll be configuring the VPN gateways. And yeah, so technically you have to make sure you use AAD Connect. That's the easy way fast. And this is in a Active Directory. In a Azure. If you are doing AWS, that will be Direct Connect, and the configuration will be pretty much the same thing. And in this process, you have customization, you have default. What I've done in the most, before you migrate all your domain controllers before you create a hybrid environment, always make sure you clean up your Active Directory, because there's always those users who have been there for so long that don't use the server. There's always those servers sitting there that need to be decommissioned. But the moment, once you do the replication, then it will take all those stuff that you have in Active Directory to the cloud, and that will be a challenge. So you have to use a customized way, and the customized way you create, or you pinpoint specifically to which OUs you want. But before you do that, you run a scripting to make sure you move all the accounts that haven't been able to log in for the last 3 months. You move them into one OU. So when you're doing the migration, you don't migrate those ones. That way it's going to create a lightweight into the cloud and much more proficient when you are on operations level.
Okay. Have you set up the Azure Site Recovery?
I've worked on Azure Site Recovery, but I didn't set up from scratch. But I've always been in recovery environments where we had some maybe glitches on servers, and we had to point on different pointers. And I didn't design it from scratch, but I've been, of course, we have a redundancy recovery fallback, and I've been part of those systems, yeah. And if I had to do the setup, it wouldn't be complex, because I've done more advanced than that.
You know that how it is works, and how we can recover the VMs through that, and what service that is being offered by Azure for an Azure Site Recovery. Can you give me some details about it?
The process is complex, because you have to be specific. This comes from the virtualization environment. You have to create groups and policies of how the servers will migrate. Let's say you have maybe 2 servers on, maybe more than 6 servers on different load balancers. And if you have to do maybe recovery, you have to make sure which server that actually going to be recovered, because you don't want to recover everything. You want to, so this goes to the data center configuration and environment configuration. Why? Because you have to specifically, when you're creating the load balancer, let's say you are doing classic load balancer or application load balancers. On classic load balancers, you have the option for the THCP to configure the IP address, and that's specifically where you specify the domain controllers in case of the failover, the VMs in case of the failover.
And have you used any the backup and DR tools in on-prem?
Yeah, I've used the Vim, I've used Net Backup, I've used, yeah, I've touched so many backups. If the policies and resources are configured, the backup is easy. If you deploy a new server, you detect it on a backup, you add it on a backup group, and then it's going to be part of the backup process.
And what tool that you used for a disaster recovery in on-prem?
So for the disaster recovery, that would mean okay. It would depend. Like for instance, you have an environment where you have a production environment, you have a test environment, you have a QA environment, you have a UAT environment. So the setup would be completely different based on the tools you're using. In this case, when you're using like a VMware, it's much easier because the VMware will give you all the features that you need to do the recovery or migration and tools like that. But again, it goes to the infrastructure design from the core of the data center, how you want, because you can't migrate those unless you have the access to the hosts. And this is a vCenter if you're on-prem. And the vCenter should be able to tell you, let's say maybe you're using a vCenter or you're using a Hyper-V. So yeah, it depends from the actual topology and how it's designed. But definitely the tools could be, if you're running VMware, the VMware has the full package for that, but you can also use Orchestrator. Orchestrator does that. There's so many tools that can do the same thing.
And do you have experience on the VMware side? VMware Hyper-V?
Yeah, I've worked a lot with VMware. I've designed the data centers from scratch with more than maybe 50 nodes. I'm talking about the EXIs, configuring the EXIs with the bare metal, configuring the IP addresses and gateway subnets, then being able to contact to route them to the vCenter, and the vCenter configuring, adding them to the VLANs and the group policies attaching to that. So yeah, I've done a lot, including patching as well. So I've done a lot of VMware.
Okay. And can you tell me how do you add a new host into the existing cluster, or what is the process that you would follow for it?
It's so many ways. You either can run a script, a CLI will be much easier, but if you want to go on a graphic perspective, you just go on a data center, which is a vCenter, and in the vCenter, you go on a data center. In the data center, you should be seeing somewhere where you have the host, and those hosts, then you added the host. How do you add the host? The host would definitely have the DNS configured, which means the DNS will be attached to the IP address, and you can search, you can add it there and then hit search and it will bring it, but you have to make sure the network firewalls are configured, because if the EXI host is configured with a different subnet IP address, and you're trying to access it in a data center, it won't work. You need those gateways, you need the routing, you need the ports open to be able to detect it there. So there's a networking environment, but also the operations environment into it.
And have you done any recent automations using a PowerShell or any other scripts?
Yeah, of course. There's no way.
There would be something. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, there's no way you can do anything to do with like managing infrastructure without being able to use scripting. Like scripting is the major thing. Like you need to use the PowerShell, and the PowerShell will come in handy at any time you're trying to do something like the scripting, the bash. All those things I've used them, and the most part of it is being able to generate a script and then manipulate it according to what you want. And yeah, I've worked, and also I've used the Microsoft Automata. I've used task management in SCCM. I've used task managers in the operating systems like servers. Yeah.
Okay. What are the operating systems that you work now?
Starting with 2022, the latest, all the way to NT. I've worked on them. And then that's Windows, of course, with Linux, Unix, and or Linux or Ubuntu. I've worked with, yeah, but mainly these have been, I'm more strong in a Windows environment. That's where my engineering has been for so long. But I've also deployed like Linuxes, Unixes, servers, configuring the IP addresses, adding them in the VLAN and passing them to the Linux team or application team.
Okay. And have you worked on Hyper-V?
I've worked a lot. I've designed Hyper-Vs. It's the same thing with VMware. I've designed Hyper-Vs, SCM manager, where different tenants, managing different tenants, connecting to SCSI. Yes, I've worked with Hyper-V as well.
So you set up from the scratch?
Yeah. It's been a while, but I had a project for like 6 months, and they had to migrate from VMware. I don't know the challenge they had, and also they had a lot of physical servers where we're converting to virtual servers like P2V, and after creating the P2Vs, then definitely I would do that. So we did that most of the time. I designed it from scratch with different tenants from different locations, with different hosts, of course, and also was on-prem and cloud at the same time.
Okay. Okay. And do you have anything you want to clarify? I've just finished it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so is this environment just on-prem or it's a hybrid?
It's a hybrid.
Good. And this hybrid mainly with Microsoft or with AWS as well?
Yeah, it's with Microsoft on Azure.
AWS and Azure. Okay. So you're managing Office 365 in Microsoft?
Yes.
Okay. So you have Microsoft. Okay. And how many are we going to be on the team?
It would be, the team size is something different. And the reason is when they outsourced, the IT support has been outsourced to the Microsoft, and we are one of the client that we are doing. And the volume that you may need to support here is around 2,000 plus VMs, which is like 20 on-prem plus Azure as well.
Okay, and I'm also coming in with the background with the AI. Are you using AI in any way? Because there have been so many opportunities that can streamline the operations, especially on a server level to the help desk level. Have you integrated the AI?
It's in a process,
okay.
And they are planning to use that.
Okay, I'll be more than happy to help because I've worked a lot with the AI implementation into AWS and Azure, so I'll be more than happy to help on that.
Okay, good. Yeah. And are you okay to work in our office all 5 days in a week?
Yeah, I can do that.
And how far from your location to the office?
I'm actually in Toronto right now, but I'm moving. So we did talk about this and I'm committed to do that.
Okay, yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good talking to you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope this works out and I can't wait to work with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Here we go, guys. That's how we make money. What do you think?
Amazing. Now, what was the job again?
It's a hybrid environment. So did you notice one thing in the interview? One thing you need to understand, this guy is not technical. I'm better than this guy.
Definitely.
But the issue is sometimes if you're better than somebody, don't push it so much because you could get disqualified. Because the guy is not going to be. Some guys, they are okay to work with guys who are better than them, but some guys,
so
they are okay
sorry to cut you short. How did you know that you are better than him? Okay, even me, I can guess, but how did you find out?
Because the question is asking, they are not specific. He's asking me questions that I'm not expected. I'm expecting like, how do you manage the containers and Dockers in Kubernetes? You see that question?
Yeah, or maybe the question you asked me recently now about maybe for feasible roles, you kept repeating
exactly.
them, and he didn't ask at least to explain in details the meaning of that,
because
which is very important to the domain controller. Yeah.
So this is a trick, and I want you to pay attention to this because you could have an interview soon, because Angel's trying to get you on. There is the way you shut down the interview. The way you shut down the interview, when you're expressing yourself, make sure you go deeper so that you cut off all the questions that are going to come technical out of it. For instance, he asked me, have you ever worked with VMware? Remember, I took the VMware all the way from scratch, like EXIs, like Nodes EXIs, like configuring the EXI client, like putting IP address, like accessing it, the vCenter. He was going to ask me, do you know the vCenter? But there's no reason why he would ask me when I've actually explained everything from scratch, from the beginners to the senior level. In his head is like, yeah, this is the guy I want. This guy is really good. Yeah. In his head is like, yeah, we got this one. Because, and the reason why they picked him to be there, he's the one of the best in the team.
Yeah, actually.
Which means this is going to be an easy fish to catch because this guy is going to be, and the environment is so easy. And I know it's Windows. The guy doesn't know about the outside Windows. He's asking me baby questions like, what's a VMware? How do you configure VMware? He's asking me baby questions like, how do you make a domain controller? Like, you can't ask that question when you're an engineer. You have to
Actually
understand it.
asked about moving it to a new server, and he was okay. He was just asking, asking a question that are not that technical, you know.
Exactly.
Just like
But
maybe picked from somewhere.
Exactly. But did you hear how I answered the question? The way I answered each and every question, I was trying to show him I know what I'm talking about, and I've done this so many times.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if that comes with experience, because that fluency you have in answering, I think something we should learn from, because like normally, for example, me when I'm doing interviews, sometimes I get somewhere and there are gaps between what I'm saying and what I'm about to say. But for
And
you,
that's
you
what,
just from the beginning to the end, you don't stop anywhere. You don't, doubt about anything. So that's
and
the most important thing.
if you noticed, when I start talking, I can't give a chance to somebody who is a junior, somebody who is an amateur to talk, because they're intimidated already. And how do I do that? I just make sure what I know, I say it the best possible way possible. What I know, when I get there, when you ask me the question I know, I don't just answer the question. I'll take you all the way to the stony edge.
Yeah.
And that way, by the time I leave the stony edge, think of the stony edge as the EXI. You see how the EXI comes in? You have the server comes in, it's a bare server, and now you have to install the EXIs. And after installing the EXIs, you configure the IP address, you configure the default gateway, you configure the subnet mask. After configuring that, then you add it. Now he's asking me a stupid question again. How do you add a host into the, what did he say, vCenter? Like, that's like, it's like somebody asking you, how do you cook food?
Anyway, another thing I realized from your answers, from the way you answer, I think again maybe this comes with experience. It's like I can't easily, suppose I'm the one asking you, I can't easily discover that you don't know something, like technically, because the way you answer, it's like you I don't know the way you play around with it, then no one can know it. You don't know it, though you know it. Yeah.
That's the trick. Sometimes when you go on conferences, on meetings, interviews, people are ready to shoot you with questions. But once they hear you, they feel intimidated. And it's not necessarily because you're too good. It's because you are confident and what you're talking about, you know it. And how do you know it? Because you're talking it in depth. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've done this so long. The same way I was asking you was Aria last time. Aria, do you remember what we did?
Yes, I do.
So you remember they're asking me a simple question, but I'm taking that question to make it more deeper. And by the time I make it more deeper, time is moving. They are impressed already. The next thing they're thinking in their head, they're going to give me a job. Like this job, it's going to be paying $75 an hour. And I'm sure I'm going to get this job. Do you know why? Because the guy is impressed. Is he not?
He is the way we are. And again, you have another trick maybe that when you are answering for something you have done maybe practically, or you have deep experience in it, and something maybe you just know the basics, still no one can differentiate. No one can differentiate.
That's what we're doing. That's what we did. I did with you last time. Even when you don't know, make sure you sound like you know. And how do you sound like you know? Pick the key points and rely on them and take the full ownership. Because most of these guys, they don't want you to be the genius. They just want you to be able to do the job. And remember, they're going to give you the training. So if you fail, it's like you're not trying your best. If you give me any word, I close my eyes, you give me any word and tell me about that word. And I will tell you about the word. Why? Because I can think as I talk. That's what you need to practice. Like if I look back and I say, tell me about this. Asaf, tell me about this.
Yeah, that's I can say that's a flag with some colors, white and red, although I don't know maybe exactly the country it represents. but it looks like a flag.
It's Canada.
It's a Canadian. But you see,
Yeah, I know it's a
this-
Canadian flag, but I wanted to answer like you, maybe trying to say
Because-
that I don't know the country, but I
No.
know it's a flag.
you have to go back and hit the point because the guy
Okay.
wants to know if you know Canadian flag. In this
Okay.
case, I'll be like, oh, the flag. I actually know the flag. Actually, too, if I can tell you a little bit about the flag, I've been a big fan of Canada until 2006. I came in Canada, and it's been the best decision I ever made. Did I talk about the flag?
No,
No.
but it has already
But
been.
in your head, I've told you don't ask me stupid question. I know more than that.
Yeah.
Let's say if they say, "Do you know this flag?" I say, "Oh, actually, my brother lives in British Columbia, and my uncle lives in Montreal, and I've been thinking to go to Toronto." I didn't say anything about the flag, but what did I say?
You leave them with a doubt that you know, maybe probably you know it's a Canadian flag.
No, I told them I know more than just saying it's a Canadian flag. I've told you about Quebec. I've told you about the British Columbia. I've told you about Toronto. So I know it's Canada.
Mm.
So I'm trying to challenge you, but in a professional way. Don't ask me this. I know more than that. They say, ask you a question. They say, do you know what this is? And I'll be like, it's actually advisable to drink a liter of water every day. What does that mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
me.
Sounds like you.
I'm
Sounds,
just gonna. I know I'm giving you more meat on the bone. If you ask me, do you know where is Nigeria, Lagos? I'll be like, oh, Nigeria, Lagos, of course. Actually, today the best developers are all coming in Africa, in Nigeria, Lagos. You see, I paid more attention than just saying Nigeria. I even know Nigeria produces the best developers, the best engineers. What do I mean? If I say that, you're not going to ask me any question again because you know this guy knows what he's talking about. You see, when he talked about scripting, remember, did you notice one thing? When he talked about scripting, I went on my computer and I opened up this one. And I wasn't gonna say, yes, I know scripting. I was gonna talk a little bit about PowerShell and I was gonna talk about some scripts. So meaning, don't ask me about that question. Let's move to the next question. That's what I'm trying to say. I've given you more than what you asked for. So let's move next. When you're saying something, make sure the company will see how they're gonna use it. How is it important to them? So I want you to remember this word. And this
you
is
designed, you deployed.
I have designed, deployed, trained, integrated AI agent or modules for both our internal use and external clients. Could you repeat that statement for me, please? That's all you're gonna say about the AI because that's what you are learning in. That's what you're learning in the class, and that's what you should know how to do, and that's how you should be able to present yourself in the market.
Yes, I can say I have designed, created, deployed, and trained and integrated AI agent for both internal and external use.
Perfect. And you can add some sugar coat on that. For the external use, this is our clients who could go on our website. They could be able to make orders. They could be able to press the complaint using the chatbot, chatting. And on chatbot, they could ask the question, when is my order coming? I could ask the question, how much is the price for this? This is the external users on your website. The internal users will be like, how do I set up a computer? They go in a chat GPT, which is the agent you've created for the company, and they say, how do I transfer? Okay, let's say you want to create a group of users in the company as an employee from the IT support. There's 10 people coming to start the job and you need to create their account into domain Active Directory. In this case, you can go for the chat GPT or for the agent you've created or machine learning module, you can go there and say, give me the steps of how to create a bulk of users. And this chatbot, your chat GPT, will actually go bring the information you loaded in. Remember, you trained your agent. Remember? The agent is not going to be able to know what you're asking about unless you trained it. Unless if you go external to high, big machine learning models like Shani was talking about. But in this case, if you are training the module for the employees to use it, which is internal, and for the clients outside to use it, that means you've trained two agents completely different. You understand? And why do you train it? Because you train it instead of the employees calling the help desk and say, oh, I forgot how to set up a Teams office. Boom, they type in how to set up a Teams meeting. I forgot how to record a Teams meeting. They call that. That's what they do. Help desk IT support. You're going to be sitting there all the time, and people are going to be like, how do I have a meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm having a hard time. I don't know what to do. How do I set it up? In this case, if you created an agent or chatbot, you should go there and say, how do I create a meeting? Then your chatbot will go there and give you a list step by step. Open out or go to your computer, open Office 65, open Office 65, maybe Teams. On Teams, go in Calendar. On Calendar, right click on the date you want to book a meeting and put the details. How do you put those details, Asaf? How do you train the agent to do that?
Yeah, you keep asking the agent the questions, but again, remember
how does the agent know this is the documentation I should give to them about this question?
Yeah, remember when we are designing and creating that chat AI agent, we gave it all those contents, so, and it can really reference to them to answer.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to. So now the AI agent, when you ask a question, it goes in a big archive and says, oh, he wants to know how to create a group of users. So they'll say, oh, this is a document, because this document it says the name of the document say how to create the users in Barrick. And now you can go next, because the documentation was created by you. And how did you create the documentation? You used general information like a ChatGPT, or you created a document in a Word file, and you created you created a document in a Word file and you copied all the information, put it in PowerPoint. Now they can go step by step. And if they can do that, then they don't have to call the help desk. They don't have to call customer service. And if they don't call the customer service and help desk, what happens? They save money. And that's what they want to hear. So anything you're talking about, it should be bringing more money to them, not taking money out of their companies. That's what they want to hear. So a question again to you, Aria, because this question is going to come to you. If they say, do you remember when they say, do you have any question? This is my time to bring in my AI. They say, do you have other questions? Yes, I say, yeah. I've been working with AI a lot and it's been so helpful. I've designed, deployed and trained the AI agent on our local user data and external user data. And this has been so important because it saved the company a lot of money. And then you ask them, are you currently using AI in any of your services? And if they say no, it's going to hit in their head. They're going to say, oh, this guy is going to be more important than we thought. So they are like, we are getting three guys in one person. We are looking like if they're hiring Aria, they're going to get somebody who knows AI. They're going to have somebody who knows the cloud computing. They're going to have somebody who can still answer the calls and respond to people's issues, which is customer service. But also, they're going to have somebody who can answer technical issues because she's the IT. Now they have 5 people in one person. Do you see how you market for yourself? How you give yourself a value? Remember, you know so many things, but if you don't tell somebody who buys that you have them, if you sell good chapati and you make them in the kitchen there and you never put them on the market, you don't tell anybody, are you going to be able to sell those chapati? No. And if necessary, sometimes you need to take a piece of chapati and give it free. And that's what I did. I told them what I did so they can say, when they start talking, they want to be like, we need this guy because he can help us on AI. We need this guy, he knows cloud. We need this guy, is IT. He's a full package in one person. So which means they are getting more for the price.
So how could you show them that you know the cloud computing if they're asking you about the help desk?
That's exactly. What's cloud computing? OneDrive. What's OneDrive?
Where we keep the documents.
And where are the documents? Do they stay in your computer? At home, where do they go? In the cloud. So the moment you're talking about Teams, you're talking about OneDrive, you're talking about Office 365 tools, you are already talking about the cloud computing. That's what the cloud computing is all about. So the key word here, always make sure you sell yourself. If you don't sell yourself, it doesn't matter. If you know so many things and you don't sell them, they're useless. Okay, I got the message from the company. Let's see what they're saying. Yes, all good. That's why I said, call me back. Yes, all good. What does that say? What does that mean?
Get a job.
Congratulations.
Oh, that's 70 hours an hour. I'm trying to tell you guys
Message,
how
the
much.
email says what?
So this is from the agency, which means what happens after they have talked to you, they call the agency. The agency, the only person who's supposed to tell you they're giving you the job. But remember the agents, because they are so proud, they're gonna make a lot of money, like 20. Remember, I'm gonna be making $75 an hour, working 8 hours a day, working 40 hours a month, and this is gonna be 1 year contract. So they are so happy. They're happy, and they don't want to give me the message on the email. What do they want? They want to make sure they call me and because now,
okay.
so they want to share the message in a good way, because now if they didn't give me the job, these guys will never even call me. But if they give me the job, now I'm a bread and butter, which means now I'm a machine. I'm gonna be the machine, the money-making machine for them. So now they say, call me, I'm gonna call them. They say, could you come to our office? I'm sure I'm gonna go there. They're gonna show me how good they are. They're gonna take me for lunch. They're gonna appreciate me. Because why? It's not because they love me. It's because they know somebody says, yes, we can pay you for this guy.
What is the title again for the job?
So they need to do on-site migration to the cloud. So it's a senior infrastructure engineer, cloud. So they need somebody who comes from senior on-prem infrastructure engineer, and they're going to the cloud. So they need a cloud architect solution, like an architect who can design AWS, Azure, and stuff like that. And this is Adia, this is where you should be within 6 months from now. You should be training and preparing. This is where you should be, and at least be able to make maybe 15K every month on one contract. Remember, you can do more than one contract. How do you do more than one contract? I'm not gonna sit down and do this contract. Maybe I'm gonna give it to Asaf. Maybe I'm gonna give it to Sadat. Maybe I'm gonna give it to Chigari. I don't sit down and do it. I just pass it over to other people. So acquire the knowledge, don't get tired. Acquire the knowledge. Once you have skills, trust me, you don't have to worry about the money. The money will come directly to your accounts without asking. We've been trying to get 10 contracts. Right now, I'm sure we've got 7. This is the 7th. And even if we stop there, I think I can go back to Africa and just relax. Nice talking to you guys, and let's keep empowering ourselves and setting ourselves from this poverty and matrix system that wants everybody to be there, block and struggling. So talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.